And for Jennifer Long, a popular streamer on part of the Streamer Showdowns, I believe, under Mrs. Mulligan, if you follow her there on Twitch as well.
So yeah, so her stream earlier this week, she was actually playing Bant Eldrazi. The tagline was Bant Eldrazi before it gets bant.
I like that. I like that.
But she seems to be sticking to her guns and playing Merfolk this weekend. Maybe she was not satisfied with the Eldrazi deck, or maybe she just thinks she has a good matchup.
Well, we'll see if she does here. Turn 1 will be an Endless 1 for 2 from Robert Wright, and for Jennifer, she has the turn 1 Aether Vial. So we've seen this play out before last round, where the aggro start from Eldrazi really got stymied early on by the Merfolk player.
Right. Actually having access to this fast mana is going to be huge here. We'll see if she has a Spreading Seas to slow Robert down.
Robert, an island on turn 2, no follow-up. So we go back over to Long. She has takes Aether Vial up to 1.
This is the exact kind of game where Spreading Seas would be huge. Your opponent has access to 3 mana and is just passing on their second turn. So you know that Spreading Seas is actually just a Stone Rain.
Cavern of Souls. Turn 2 play, and she will follow with Silvergill Adept, revealing a Curse Catcher.
Presumably will be coming in off of the Vial here. Not going to mess around either.
Just go ahead and just put it into play immediately. She activates Vial. Now, Robert, before the Curse Catcher comes into play, will dismember Silvergill Adept.
Not super important to time that like that. Yeah, there's still another land in play for Robert. I also don't necessarily like using that before we've seen a Lord.
Yeah, it definitely can be a bit of a liability. I mean, you need to save those for Lords. It'll be Hallowed Fountain for Robert Wright. And now we have Thought Not Seer as the play.
A foil Thought Not Seer, no less.
Pre-release foil. See, it has the date inscription on it. And we'll look at the hand. It is a Mirror Regery, a Dismember, a Master of the Pearl Trident, an Island. I believe a second copy of Master as well.
So the Lords are certainly the important elements of Jennifer's deck. You really want to take those. However, when you cast Thought Not Seer, it's very difficult to not take this spell that kills Thought Not Seer. It's going to be a 2-for-1 in your direction.
Actually, correct myself. That is not a second master. It's one of the Kamigawa lands. She plays one of Oboro Palace in the Clouds and one Minamo School at Water's Edge. So the choice here will be the Master of the Pearl Trident. That will be exiled by Thought Not Seer, leaving her with 2 lands, a kill spell, and 1 Merfolk. And a swing in for 2 from Eldrazi Mimic will put Jennifer down to 16.
I think that I would have gone for the Dismember there. In particular, I guess that Long has the Vial on 2, so you're able to play a Lord and have a spell no matter what.
You're concerned about her just dismembering the Thought Not Seer?
Yeah, that's a real problem. You want to be able to control the Lords, but again, it comes back to the play where he just dismembered Silvergill Adept. So we're kind of biasing ourselves in opposite directions with these plays. They don't really line up in a way that makes sense to me.
Dismember will be cast. Jennifer will go to 12. Thought Not Seer is down. She'll draw a card. Draw Silvergill Adept, a great one into her Aether Vial on 2.
Absolutely.
She will cast, though, revealing the Regery.
Yeah, you know that no counters can happen. May as well cast it if you have another 2-drop to Vial in. Still no Spreading Seas.
Endless One will swing. Robert looks like he'll offer the trade for Silvergill Adept.
Yeah, this is a situation that we saw earlier. The Endless One scales terribly in play. As a draw step, it scales really well, but against a Merfolk deck that has access to a million Lords, the Pack Rat deck, as it's often called, the Endless One just loses stock the longer the game goes on.
Still good for damage right now. Jennifer down to 10. Another Temple for Robert, so he makes his way up to 6. This could be a Drowner of Hope.
I imagine that's what we'll see. There's no way that it's a reality smasher coming in post-combat.
Well, we do see an endless one for 4. Robert leaving up 2 mana.
Okay, so spells that Robert has access to, there's Path to Exile and Dismember. You know, I guess you're leaving up one of those, and there's mana for the Curse Catcher that's in play.
Go back over to Jennifer. She had a Vial on the end step, put in another Merfolk. Leaving her Vial on 2, plays Oboro. End step was just Harbinger to bounce the Endless one. It's an interesting play, so I'm not entirely sure I want to return the Endless one to Robert's hand at this point.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. Endless one scales very well as a draw step, does not scale very well in play. I'm not in love with that bounce.
Well, but it does give her good attacking options. She plays Marrow Regery to pump the team.
We do get to Kraken for a lot of damage, and if Robert is just casting a giant Endless one, there's a very real chance that there's just a 2-turn clock going on. So there is that. Considering the life totals, that play is actually probably fine.
She's got to expect at least one instant hanging out in Robert's hand. By leaving up 2 mana, he's leaving up Path to Exile or Dismember and the ability to pay for Curse Catcher.
Right.
So here's an attack. It'll be a 3-3, 2-2, and 3-2. 5 damage will swing in, or will. Robert ready with a Path to Exile on Marrow Regery.
Yeah, leaving that island up to potentially pay for the Curse Catcher. Not taking too much damage on this swing.
No, it looks like he's only going to take 3. And Jennifer is going to lose her Harbinger of the Tides.
And minimally, Robert has access to a 6/6 Endless one on his next turn. It looks to be the only card in his hand, but when that's your floor, I'm not super excited to be your opponent.
Harbinger of the Tides is blocked. We go back over to Robert. Took damage on that swing. Went to 10 on that last swing, taking 3.
Looked like the draw step was in a darker wastes. Probably just a 7/7 Endless one coming down.
Endless one swings, puts Jennifer down to 6. Here's another Endless one. That one's on 6. That makes it lethal, and he will pass.
I suppose when your opponent's on 6 life, the value, you don't really gain anything by playing the land and making a 7/7.
Yeah, you just give away information.
Right, you give Long more to think about.
Makes a lot of sense. Spreading Seas will be cast on an Eldrazi Temple. See there, a shortcut. If you remember back in the Jund days, Cascade Jund, this was a shortcut that people would frequently do. If they were a deck that could never remove Spreading Seas, they would just remove the land and replace it with the card Spreading Seas, as it makes it easier to tap. It's less bulky.
Yeah, it's a thing that people do. Never anything that I got into personally.
Yeah, I mean, that's the shortcut Robert's using. So it's not a Spreading Seas on the temple. That Spreading Seas is just an island.
Right. It is a Spreading Seas on a temple.
But not that temple.
Right.
Draw from Jennifer and a pass. Robert will swing for lethal, and it's going to be a double chump block. Little surprised to see the chump block on the 4/4 there.
Yeah, you may as well just go down to 2. The odds of actually winning this game appear to be approximately 0. But
yeah.
I agree. If you can take it to the face, why not?
Once all your creatures are gone, I mean, you see her draw Master of Waves now. If you had another, another creature in play means another elemental, which can add up.
Right. If you do something like draw another Master of Waves, or just rattle off Master, Master, Master. The Spreading Seas is in play, so there are a couple tokens. But it looks to be a bit shy of enough on its own.
Two elementals in play off Master of Waves. She'll have to chump with both of them this turn, though.
Yeah, blocking with the actual Master is definitely worse than blocking with a token.
But if she can run off a couple Master Waves here, she may have a decent chance. You know, another Master Waves would create 3 elementals, for example.
Absolutely. That's exactly what she's looking at. If she has access to enough mana, spreading Seasons to Master is even better. Looks like she's a land short of doing that.
1 card in hand.
Good blocks. Actually, again,
you kind of want to go to 2, don't you?
We can take a hit from the 4. It looks like our out is exactly more Master of Waves.
But if you drew another one, then you'd want the elemental because it'd be a 3/2 you could hit in.
Exactly. Also, 2 3-power creatures block the 6/6 endless one.
Her draw, and she'll just pass. But did play Mutavault, so it gives her a blocker.
Mutavault is a 3/3 with Master Waves. The pump does not impact your Merfolks, but it does impact your every creature type land.
But here's Reality Smasher for Robert Wright, and the 5/5 trample is going to be too much to overcome. Game 1 goes over to Robert Wright and Blue-White Eldrazi.
Yep, just keeps coming back to Reality Smasher. That card off the top is going to win a lot of games.
Well, especially on that kind of board where your opponent's in a situation where they have to start chump blocking. You know, the trample will be very big.
Yeah, even with multiple Masters, that's a really real threat. It takes two toughness tokens to soak up damage meaningfully.
All right, going over to the board, we'll go ahead and look at Jennifer Long sideboard first with Merfolk. This is actually a very different sideboard than what we had seen last round from Michael Majors. She has 3 copies of Tectonic Edge, 2 Negate, a Kira the Great Glass Spinner, 3 Chalice of the Void of her own, 3 Tidebinder Mage, and 3 Hurkyl's Recall. I like
Tidebinder Mage quite a lot. Huge tempo swing. This matchup is all about turning creatures sideways. These other cards don't seem to do anything. Chalice of the Void, frequently played in the Eldrazi decks themselves. Actually, I stand corrected. I was thinking of Harbinger of the Tides. I got a little messed up. Tidebinder Mage is actually
for the red and green creatures.
Not really good at all. Little mistake on my part there. It gives you 2 blue mana for Master of Waves, but if that's something we really cared about, it would already be in the main deck.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that maybe if she wants to lower her curve, there's an argument for that. But the curve's already pretty low in the deck. Mirror, Rejury, and Master Waves, the only cards over 2 mana.
Right. Tectonic Edge is a consideration. I think it's just far too slow.
All right, on Robert's side, he has 3 Stony Silence, 3 Rest in Peace, 3 Gut Shots, 2 Disenchants, 2 Rest for the Weary, and 2 copies of Vesuva. That's some pretty interesting technology for the Mirror.
Yeah, that's interesting. You can copy their double land. That's kind of neat. It does come into play tap, but that does not matter.
Exactly.
Yeah. It does not matter if it's Ayavugan. It's a bit speculative in your opener. I'm not.
I mean, to have that in your sideboard, what a comment is that on the Mirror match?
I'm not sure how I feel about that. Yeah, he's registered 2 copies, so yeah, that's more than 1. So he's definitely in on this plan.
All right. Well, these players are going to get ready for Game 2. We have an upcoming announcement about Star City Games and our state championships that were just announced earlier this week.
On April 23rd and 24th, don't miss the StarCityGames.com State and Provincial Championships. With Standard on Saturday and Modern on Sunday throughout the United States, Canada, and Puerto Rico, there are plenty of chances to become a champion. Every player that registers receives an exclusive art print, top 8 competitors receive an exclusive playmat and pin, and each champion receives a championship playmat, medal, and an invitation to any of the next 3 StarCityGames.com invitationals. Each event will also include an oversized token door prize customized with their location. Visit go.starcitygames.com/states to learn how to become a champion today.
And so those will be coming up at the same weekend as the next Pro Tour, the state and regional championships. The last one's you may want to make sure you register for them. The last regional championships were such a big hit. I know a lot of locations, the Midwest one, Upper Midwest one, for example, having to turn away some players. I imagine the tournament organizers will be ready for that one, but you always want to be sure of it.
Right, you might want to find a bigger event hall for hosting. Interestingly, pre-registration closed the Wednesday of that week, and it wasn't just the case where you could just go to Chicago if you had the means. They were sold out in Chicago.
Sold out there too.
You could then look at Missouri. I believe that they were at capacity as well.
I mean, a great problem to be having.
Exactly. Very popular tournaments. I imagine that we'll see higher capacities going forward, and you'll want to go ahead and pre-register one way or the other. but they're really fun.
Underway for game 2, post-board between Merfolk and Eldrazi. Both these decks having their sights set on other decks in the format where their sideboard is concerned, but we've mentioned it before. This is the third time we've seen the Merfolk-Eldrazi matchup. Merfolk with a surprising amount of game here against the Eldrazi deck.
Yeah, and there wasn't anything hateful coming out of game 1 there, and that's why we probably see the Eldrazi deck winning game 1. The spreading seas was much too late to matter, but there are draws that come together that give you very positive interactions against Eldrazi. Blockable creatures that are on the same power level as their threats.
Looks like Wright will be going down to 6 cards for the first game, for the game 2 here. Now, Jennifer's deck of Merfolk is definitely a more classical build to the deck, unlike Michael Majors' no White Splash, no Path to Exile, no Reflector Mage. Instead, 4 copies of Spreading Seas, 2 Dismember, and then 2 copies of Echoing Truth actually in the main of the deck.
Yeah, Echoing Truth is a pretty strong tempo play. It also deals with the cards that people are main decking to hate on Eldrazi, things like Ensnaring Bridge, things like Worship. Deals with every copy of them, which is a pretty big game. The most suspect card, I would say, in Jennifer's deck is actually Master of Waves. This is the card that specifically Merfolk decks have been moving away from because there are so many Dismembers and Path to Exiles in the format. It's a lot to invest 4 mana into a creature that just gets hit by a 1-mana removal spell. But we saw in game 1, that was kind of her only saving grace, potentially, to be in that game, was a bunch of Master of Waves. So.
Turn 1 Aether Vial from Jennifer. Had one last game as well. For Robert, though, he has his own 2-mana land on own good 1 play. It's Eldrazi Temple, but no Mimics or any play on turn 1. See if we can start pulling off those turn 2 Thought-Knot Seers. We've heard about them, but haven't seen any yet today.
No. I see another colorless land in Robert's hand. Oh, there's a Ghost Quarter. So much for a turn 2 Thought-Knot Seer. But someday, I assure you, we will see that this weekend.
Yeah, and a big amount of respect here from Jennifer. Goes ahead and Ghost Quarters his land on turn 2.
This is often a not very great play, even if you have Ghost Quarter in your deck, because the problem is they have a 2-mana land. Your solution is to go down 1 mana yourself. Aether Vial allows the Merfolk deck to make this play and not feel bad about it. She's still developing her mana.
Yeah, any other deck wouldn't want to make this play. For Robert, he will have an Eldrazi Displacer on turn 2 nonetheless, with a 2nd copy of Eldrazi Temple. Scan end step, Jennifer will make a Curse Catcher.
Displacer's ability, not very exciting against Merfolk. Until we're actually getting to the point where we're bouncing our own Drowner of Hopes.
See Silvergill Adept revealing Master of the Pearl Trident for Jennifer. It does have some game against Phantasmal Image.
True.
But outside of that, I think you're right. You don't really want to bounce. Well, obviously not Silvergill Adept. Bouncing Lords doesn't accomplish that much either.
Bouncing Master of Waves is kind of disastrous. You blink out the first tokens, but the other ones just come right back.
Up to 4 mana for Wright, and that is going to be the Thought-Knot Seer. So without the Ghost Quarter, this would have been on turn 2. See, she has Echoing Truth, Master of the Pearl Trident, Dismember, and Tectonic Edge.
A lot of interaction, just the 1 Lord. So if Wright has access to a Path to Exile or a Dismember, this should be a runaway game for him. The choice between the Lord and the Dismember is not certain. Also worth noting, the trigger on Thought-Knot Seer is a leaves the battlefield, so that Echoing Truth would at least cycle for Jennifer.
See if he goes for the Dismember. Looks like Dismember will be the choice. Well, if she's going to bounce with Echoing Truth, she'll have to do it. Be careful to play around an Eldrazi Displacer activation.
That's true. Could just fizzle that, though that would still give the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
That would not only give the draw a card trigger immediately, but then the Thought-Knot Seer, of course, would be able to target Jennifer again that way without investing 4 mana on Robert's side.
Well, and also he can actually stack it so that she draws, and then he get, he'll be in control of both the stack, the draw, and the exile triggers.
Right, they happen simultaneously because they're part of the same ability resolving.
Yep. Tectonic Edge is the play for Jennifer. Takes Aether Vial up to 2. It's good enough for the Master of the Pearl Trident in her hand. Robert careful to make blue mana off Outer Car Wastes and white off Plains, not giving himself an island for her to island walk on.
Yeah, and this is just something that the Eldrazi deck is happy to do. Basic Island is less important than Basic Plains when your 3-drop costs white and it's your 6-drop that costs blue. So this actually just kind of naturally lines up very well for the deck.
Draws another Outer Car Waste from Robert. That'll be the play. We'll see where he goes with for attacks.
What he really wants here is Reality Smasher. Judging by the fact that he's posturing with his creatures, I would say that it's not there.
This is an interesting one. Robert's going to go to combat, and Jennifer's going to Tectonic Edge his Eldrazi Temple.
I like the play there. You know that won't be able to cast any Eldrazi this turn. It does float mana to activate the Displacer.
Yeah, it's interesting because Jennifer also has a Master of Waves in her hand. So this means that she's going to have to work that way up to Master Waves with Aether Vial as opposed to casting it off her lands.
Right. She does have 2 mana, and also we know that she's not flooded with any cheap creatures. So she'll be able to basically cast anything. She'll be taking a turn off of using her land. Like if she draws a Marrow Regery, but then she could just Violet it anyway. So I think that this is actually just a good use of mana.
All right, so she vials in Master of the Pearl Trident, blocks, attempts to trade off Silvergill Adept with Eldrazi Displacer, but Robert is at the ready with Path to Exile. Doesn't mean Jennifer gets another island.
Right. It also just means that she's chump blocking here.
Looks like it'll be to lose the Silvergill Adept and take 4 off Thought Not Seer. Yeah, it's worth noting that she may have wanted to throw the Curse Catcher into that block as well if she's going to try to block Eldrazi Displacer. It still would just be a 1-for-1 if the Master lived, and then if Master died, at least she'd get a creature out of the ability.
Right, absolutely. You would be trading 2 creatures for 1, but the Curse Catcher is not really doing anything in play here.
I think, if you think you've already lost Silvergill Adept, what you're doing is you're trading Curse Catcher for Eldrazi Displacer, which I think is something she would want to do right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the mana attack continues, spreading seas onto Outer Car Wastes. And here's a replacement Silvergill Adept off of the Aether Vial.
So she didn't pump the vial up to 4. I suppose part of that, she's just planning on drawing 4 lands to cast the Lord of Atlantis. If she leaves it on 2, she can just vial in Harbinger of Tides, which is relevant.
Yeah. Dismember takes care of Thought Not Seer. She gets her card back. Draws a Cavern of Souls. She's starting to recover here. And if you look at this, she has 3 blue Devotion for that Master Waves in her hand.
Yeah. Yeah,
maybe she's turned the corner.
Yeah. If Robert does not have an answer to that Master, that is problematic. Notably, if he leaves up 3 mana, if the Master and the tokens come to attack, you can blink the Master out of existence.
And all the tokens will die.
And then they'll come back. Right. Though you're just not doing anything on your turn if that's the play.
Yeah. Plays Eye of Ugin for Robert Wright.
All right, so we'll be seeing Master here. We'll see if Jennifer is able to produce anything for 2 mana with the Aether Vial. It looks like there is a Phantasmal Image in hand.
Yeah, Master of Waves, Devotion is 4 for Jennifer. She'll get 4 tokens. Now, I wanted to have a bit of a correction from earlier. Not because of all of that actually happens in the same ability. If Robert uses Eldrazi Displacer to displace the Master Waves, I believe Jennifer actually gets to keep her tokens.
Oh yeah, there's no window for state-based effects to be checked, I suppose.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
But this play is great. Not only does she get to play Master Waves, but then gets to play a Phantasmal Image off the Aether Vial, copying Master Waves. So the first Master will make 4 tokens. The second one will make 5, and you see here 9 Elemental tokens, all 3/2s for Jennifer.
That's a pretty big play. The Displacer can blink the image out of existence entirely, but there's no answer to the Master of Waves proper at this point in time.
Yeah, 1 path to exile will fix all of this for Robert, but it needs to happen now.
Right.
You see Robert's going to go ahead and displace the Phantasmal Image. Had he done that in response to the trigger, there would have been 1 fewer Elemental. I doubt that matters.
Right.
But here's the big question. Does he have the second kill spell?
He is still at 19. I haven't done the Master of Waves math. Something that has been my experience is you're just you're trying to convince yourself you're not dead when you just probably are. Master of Waves is not a realistic Magic card in play.
If you don't have a removal spell for it, this is a huge amount of power on the board.
So we have 9 tokens, the Master itself. That's 18 damage right there.
Well, Robert's going to try to chump his way through it. So he swings for 2 with Eldrazi Skyspawner, and then plays Endless 1/1 on 3. So he's going to go for the play. He's going to attempt to blink out the Master Waves. Now, we'll confirm this interaction here, but I don't believe this actually works the way Robert wants it to.
This looks bad for Robert. He's not dead on board, it doesn't look to be. It looks like he can survive with a couple of blocks, but actually breaking through and being able to crack back for lethal is an entirely different order.
All right, so Robert Wright is going to go ahead and displace the Master of Waves. All right, so this is the ruling from the judge here is that the tokens would die because we're holding on a judge confirmation here, but the initial ruling from the judge is that the tokens would die because they would be 1/0s momentarily. I believe that ruling is being appealed, so we'll get a confirmation on this.
Yeah, there's a question of whether or not that moment actually occurs according to state-based effects.
Yeah, so while they take care of the judge, we're going to bring you back to the booth here for a second while that judge's ruling is made. Matthias and Ryan Overture, if you're just joining us. Round 3 here of the Modern Open here from Louisville. We have Merfolk versus Eldrazi in Game 2. A matchup we've been seeing a lot of that has actually been going the way of Merfolk so far today.
Yeah, it's really interesting. We talked about cards that are actually hateful against Eldrazi. We came up with some oddball ones. I guess Lord of Atlantis might have been the answer that people were looking for.
Well, Master of Waves looks pretty good here too, to be honest.
Yeah, it's producing 10, 12 power for 1 card.
Yeah.
That's more power than Reality Smasher.
It does match up pretty well there. Yeah, so there's been a lot of game here. I mean, we've seen certainly the ability for Merfolk just to race them on the ground. Eldrazi is a deck that's light on removal. I mean, Merfolk's great at these creature matchups.
Right, and basically it's 2 decks that are trying to play very efficient threats on the ground, trying to end up with a favorable board position, both with Dismember, both with Path to Exile. Thought-Knot Seer is kind of a double-edged sword for the Eldrazi deck. On the one end, you can look at their hand, pluck their best card. On the other end, if they have multiple ways to deal with it, that's the only card that's on its face at 2 for 1.
Right. Yeah, there's not that much card advantage in the Eldrazi deck. I mean, Eye of Ugin is a source of card advantage, but did you mention that actually doesn't happen very much with the deck?
No, typically if it's getting activated, it's in games that are slowly slipping away, and you have to sacrifice a couple Scions to do it, and that usually means you're not activating your Drowner of Hope. It's generally only mirrors where it's particularly relevant.
Yeah, I was just going to ask that because I know mirrors actually tend to develop into board stalls, which is interesting because in the Merfolk matchup, both players are just basically playing out a big range of creatures, but we aren't seeing those stalls happen, and a lot of that's because of the tapping abilities of Mara Regerie and the island walk abilities of Lord of Atlantis.
Right, the unblockable creatures make a huge difference. You need a lot more Eldrazi Scions to be tapping with Drowner of Hope to actually make a meaningful impact. When it's just a team of 6/6 unblockables and the undeniable fact that some chip shots happened earlier in the game, getting that critical mass of actually stopping them from killing you is kind of a tall order.
It does feel like in this matchup, a lot of times that we're seeing it is that there's some I guess the litmus test of the matchup seems to be on the Eldrazi deck. If both decks go late, the Merfolk deck seems to be winning most of these. unless the Eldrazi player has a very quick opening to force chump blocks early, it feels inevitable that the Merfolk player is going to win.
Yep, and something that we've seen come up time and again is that the Merfolk creatures, the lords, as you draw them, everything scales very well for the Merfolk deck. Once you've already cast Endless One, it's in play at whatever you thought was a reasonable body at the time. In particular, the 2/2 Endless One becomes outclassed pretty quickly.
Yeah, the 2 lance ones have not been good at all.
It's like we said, there's technically Ruination Guide. The blue-white Eldrazi decks aren't playing it. There's no Lord for Eldrazi. So if you have a 2/2, you have a 2/2. If I have a Curse Catcher, it might be a 4/4.
Yeah. Right now, we are currently waiting on the match. There has been an appeal. The ruling of the table judge's ruling has been appealed, so that will be sent over to the head judge. And when we get that ruling, we will bring you back into the match. Right now, it's a pretty meaningful one. I believe if depending on what the ruling is here, I believe we'll be seeing a game 3.
Yeah, I don't think that we had a lethal attack in play if it works one way, but a very easy 2-turn clock if it works the one way, and then we had a top deck war probably coming from the other way.
So and this can be confusing, right? Because Master Waves has a bunch of 2/1s with it. When the Master Waves leaves play, all the 2/1s become 1/0s and die. So the question is, when you Eldrazi displace it, there would be a moment while the Master Waves is in exile. Do the creatures actually die, or because he comes back immediately, are they saved here? We'll bring you to the match. It looks like a ruling has been made, which the ruling has been made is that no, the elemental state-based effects only checked when a player has priority. As a result, because the Master Waves left and came back during one ability, there was never an opportunity for these 2/1s to actually die, so they get to stay that. And the result is that Jennifer just gets additional Master Waves tokens when the Master Waves comes back into play.
And there you see that is not a 10/9 elemental token. That is actually 9 elemental tokens that have been in play since the beginning of the turn, and
then 4
4
new
fresh
ones.
Yep.
And for Robert, this was part of his game plan, is he was going to try to attack for 2 in the air twice and use Eldrazi Displacer to just keep the Master Waves tokens at bay. But that's not going to work now with the ruling the judge has given.
Right. So the attack this turn is going to deal, it looks like it's going to be slightly shy of lethal. The maximum potential damage is 17 if there is no Lord from Jennifer. If there is a Lord, it's just very obviously lethal. And assuming that Robert does not come up with anything to deal with the Master, then there's still 4 blockers back now. And there's your Lord.
Master Pro Trident, and we are on to game 3 here between Blue-White Eldrazi and Merfolk. Master Waves looking very impressive in the matchup.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's something we talked about a little bit earlier. Michael Majors was moving off of Master of Waves, and we've seen other Merfolk players do that because of all the Path to Exiles, because of all the Dismembers. Well, the fact of the matter is, all of the Lords matter too. It's very unlikely that we're getting to the stage where we're casting a good Master of Waves, and you don't have to top deck your answer to it.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much removal on the Eldrazi board, and its ability to fight through Master Waves is low. Reality Smasher doesn't really get through that card.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like the games Robert will win are the ones where he very quickly gets enough power on the board that Jennifer has to chump block.
Right, yeah, you have to get way ahead, and that enables you to manage her blue mana symbols in play. If you attack and she has to do a lot of chump blocking, not only is she losing the creatures that could be potentially buffed by Lords as the game progresses, there's also just the supporting cast from Master of Waves is being depleted. When it comes into play and it just makes 1 or 2 elementals, it's kind of on chump blocking duty in those games.
So what about the land destruction plan that Jennifer was on here? If you remember this, she turned 2 Ghost Quartered away at Eldrazi Temple. She later on went Spreading Seized away in Eldrazi Temple, and then Tectonic Edged away, or Spreading Seized in the Adakar Waits and Tectonic Edged another Eldrazi Temple. That's a lot of land destruction to come out of an aggro deck.
Yeah, absolutely, and we saw that stop Robert from really doing anything too meaningful. His board was Eldrazi Displacer and not a whole lot going else at the end of the game. He had the Sky Spawner, but didn't have any of his heavy hitters and was struggling on mana to do too much of anything, really. So Yeah, the mana denial plan, it's a little slow, but if Robert's hands are comparably slow, which often happens when the Eldrazi deck has to mulligan to even get these 2 mana lands in the first place, you can just Ghost Quarter and Tech Edge of them off of their relevant action. A few things have to line up correctly, but the cost of having Edge in your deck is low.
All right, players getting ready for Game 3 here. We're covering the Star City Games Louisville Open. This is toward the end of Season 1 as we build our way toward the Season 1 Columbus Invitational. Now, for our Invitationals, our most recent winner, Caleb Shear, from winning the Invitational, got his likeness on an Invitational token. You see over there the Storm Master taking down the Invitational actually with Obs on aggro. Put his likeness on, of course, a Storm counter, and you can get that by attending any Open, Classic, or by placing an order from Star City Games anytime this season. Now, keep in mind, as we get to our next Invitational, this will change, of course, as every Invitational winner gets to put their face and on a card of their choice. So yet another reason to show up to Opens this season, and of course to try to get to our Invitational in Columbus in April.
I really enjoy the Caleb Shear Storm token. I am not a Storm player, but really I like just using it in decks that don't rely on the Storm mechanic. Something I frequently do when I'm playing is just announce the Storm count, just on some random turn.
You should do it in your Surge decks. So you need to know whether or not you played a spell, and then whether or not you can Surge.
Exactly. You cast a spell, put your die on your Caleb token, reference the die to verify that Surge is active.
Then you can play your Crush of Tentacles.
I was going to say Reckless Bushwhacker, but Crush of Tentacles is another good one.
You can Crush of Tentacles away your Demonic Pacts just before they kill you.
I've seen these decks, and they seem sweet. That is definitely something that I would bring to an F&M or a Star City Games game night.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Open. I thought you were going to say Open, not game night.
Well, after I had won enough F&Ms and game nights, then I would inevitably bring it to an Open.
Okay, all right. You gotta crawl before you can walk.
Exactly. You know, I don't have any games under my belt yet. A little ambitious to take that deck to an Open. Though obviously it's going to be excellent once I learn how to play it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just we just have to find the right combination of these broken cards.
Exactly. Demonic Pact's kind of like a Planeswalker.
Its abilities are way better than most Planeswalker abilities.
Except for the one where you lose the game.
Yeah, that one. We just don't use that ability.
That's like a Tibalt ability. I'm not positive.
It's his ultimate.
That might actually be Tibalt's ultimate. I haven't read it in a while.
That's why I didn't see very much play.
Yeah, it makes him pretty weak to Mindslaver. Demonic Pact, of course, also very weak to Mindslaver.
All right, underway game number 3, Robert Wright versus Jennifer Long. Wright on 6, Scryed to the top. The Eldrazi deck looking to get its first spot on the scoreboard here. Ayavugan turn 2 will be a turn 2 Eldrazi Displacer for Robert. See, he led on Adakar Waste to shield himself from possible Ghost Quartering.
Or Seize Claim, which we have been seeing in some Merfolk decks.
We have seen a couple Seize Claim in Merfolk decks, that 1 mana spell.
It's a Spreading Seas that does not draw a card.
Cameron Souls on Island for Jennifer. Does she have a Merfolk or a Spreading Seas? It'll be Spreading Seas for the Ayavugan.
So this is actually one where I really don't like this representation where you move the eye to the side, because inevitably he's going to draw another Ayavugan. We're going to tap that for an island, and we'll have to sacrifice the first eye when we play the second Ayavugan.
Yeah, it is a legendary land. And Flooded Strand is the player from Robert. He swings for 3, and we pass.
I imagine that the Spreading Seas is having a significant impact on Robert's development. Passing on turn 3, far from ideal for this deck.
Yeah, he wasn't able to do anything turn 3 there. Jennifer's making a game plan error, which is causing Robert to pay full value for all his spells. And we did see that last round as well. When the Eldrazi players have to play their spells actually on curve, the deck's rather unimpressive.
Right. Though notably, Jennifer's looking at least one Phantasmal image. Copying that Displacer is not going to gain her any value here. He even has the mana up to just activate the Displacer at the end of her turn.
The play will be a Marrow Regery from Jennifer. And Robert will fetch an end step. He may just tap the Regery using Displacer.
Yeah, I imagine that we'll see that. It's basically free to do that. I don't think that we would want to Path to Exile here. That's rather aggressive.
And that's exactly what he'll do. He'll go ahead and tap out the Merfolk.
Not that the Regiru is going to do any blocking, but again, you have the mana, you're not doing anything.
Eldrazi Mimic the draw for Robert Wright.
That one's a little late to the party.
And it'll be Thought Not Seer for the turn. We'll see what we're looking at. It is 2 Phantasmal Images, a Silvergill Adept and a Master of the Pearl Trident.
So this one looks like a clear pick of the Master of the Pearl Trident here. It's the only Lord available to Jennifer. Both of the images are covered by the Displacer, and until she draws another Merfolk, that Silvergill is not online. It costs 5 if you can't reveal a Merfolk in your hand.
Yeah, or 2 if you don't want to draw a card, but
Jennifer picked up a Spreading Seas. That's not doing a whole lot to help this hand.
yeah, it can cut Robert off of colorless mana right now.
That is interesting.
It's, not normally how you would see this card get used, but Adarkar Waste is his only source of colorless that she knows of.
Yeah, then he'd be down to Island, Plains, and then whatever the 4th land was.
So here's Phantasmal Images copying Thought Not Seer, and I like the sequencing here. She's going to get to see what to do first.
Okay, so Robert does have 2 colorless sources here, so I
okay, he has 2. Yeah, he has another Adarkar Wastes. Which you can't get them both. It's Urborg, Drowner of Hope. Both essential. Go ahead and take the Drowner. And play another image to take the Mimic, so it just leaves Robert with just Urborg.
Yep. Now Robert has the ability to tap 3 mana to draw a card and kill the 4/4, though notably will not be able to take care of both of the Phantasmal Images on this turn.
Yeah, he drew Endless One for the turn, but he's going to go ahead and start chopping down those 4/4s before they get a chance to attack. So he'll displace the first Thought Not Seer, draw a card, play the Urborg from his hand, and it looks like it will be Eldrazi Mimic as a follow-up.
If Jennifer can top deck another Spreading Seas, or actually, now that Robert has, 5 lands in play, she has a Tectonic Edge in play, she can Tech Edge one of the colorless sources and Spreading Seas the other with that 4/4 in play.
Right, so she actually can cut Robert off colorless mana right now.
Right.
Which it feels like she has to do, right? Otherwise she's losing all her creatures.
Not only is she losing her 4/4 in play, which is the one thing that's holding back any of this offense, she's also just letting Robert draw a card.
Draw for the turn for Jennifer. That last image is on a Thought Not Seer.
So that tapping of the Tectonic Edge suggests that we won't see her taking Robert off of colorless mana.
Yeah, she's going to go ahead and cast Silvergill Adept, showing Master of the Pearl Trident. She does get to tap something, untap something, or tap something. She's going to tap Eldrazi Displacer. Then play... Oh, I like this. Then go ahead and bounce Eldrazi Displacer. And play Harbinger of the Tides and just bounce the Thought Not Seer.
You're using the trigger from the Reedry to tap it, and then the Harbinger to bounce it. Yep.
So taking the much more aggressive line here, she's hoping to beat down. A swing of Phantasmal Image and Marrow Regery. Eldrazi Mimic will block and get to trade with the Regery. So Robert will go to 14.
That trade looked pretty good for Robert. He has to draw one of his enablers to actually make the Mimic attack for anything. Though if he does, then the Mimic is actually worth quite a bit more than a Regery.
So he taps 3. He's going to go ahead and displace away the Phantasmal Image and then draw a card. Eye of Ugin is the play. we're in a hold here. So that Spreading Seas is actually on top of an Eye of Ugin. So he now has 2 of the legendary land, and he'll have...
Yeah, so the legend rule should be checking that Eye of Ugin.
Attention Magic players, our next assignment today is the 2 p.m. Two-Headed Giant Challenge.
We'll say he's going to... Either way, he'll get to play this Thought-Knot Seer.
Right. Yeah, this is something that's not going to impact this turn, but it is part of the rules, so we're going to cut off on that.
Yeah, judges checking just how Spreading Seas works. Remember that Spreading Seas is on an Eye of Ugin.
Yeah, Spreading Seas neither impacts legendary status or name of a card. So you can cast it against any Urza's Tower, but the Power Plant and the Mine are still pretty good.
That is time in the round. Modern Open, that is time in the round. Active player, finish your turn. Proceed to 5 additional turns.
Judges are going to check the ruling on this one.
Has a time extension.
But yeah, in the same way that when you put a Spreading Seas on a non-basic land, it does not turn it into a basic island, or this is, well, Blood Moon certainly works this way.
Right.
It turns if you get a non-basic mountain.
Right, it's a non-basic island.
Yeah, so there's going to go ahead and just finish this ruling here. Back in the booth again, Matthias Hunt and Ryan Overturf here. Game 3 right now between Jennifer Long and Robert Wright. Merfolk versus Eldrazi. There's been really a lot of back and forth with this, and a lot of the confusion here caused by kind of attacks on mana. And yeah, it does turn out that the land under Spreading Seas is legendary, as you mentioned. Robert, of course, chooses to sacrifice the island when this happens.
Yeah, that would be the one that I would sacrifice too. The island was tapping for 1 mana. The Eye of Ugin made 4 mana this turn.
Seems pretty easy there. So Thought-Knot Seer was cast by Robert. It exiled what looked to be a Master of Waves that Jennifer had drawn. That's a huge hit for her.
Yeah, that's a big swing. It's pretty much the exact card she wants to be drawing at this stage in the game. So
now she'll have to draw it again.
Yep.
Tectonic Edge will take care of Eye of Ugin. She has Spreading Seas and Curse Catcher as her remaining 2 cards.
I think that Jennifer got a little bit tunnel visioned on the fact that she wants to use Tectonic Edge on Eldrazi lands in this game.
She could have, missing the ability to cut him off of colorless.
Right. Not only did she not have that line, but also that Eye of Ugin is not huge right now. It does bring Robert down to 4 mana, and because of that legend rule hitting that island, it cuts him down a little bit, but there's no guarantee that actually is going to prevent him from casting any spells.
Well, cutting him off of colors wouldn't have worked anyway. Robert plays a 3rd Adakar Wastes. He swings. Jennifer goes for a double block. This is actually interesting. No matter which way, I think Robert was going to displace one of them and realized, I don't want either of those to come back into play. So he then chooses to path to exile one instead.
Right. The option was letting Jennifer draw a card or allowing her to return one of his creatures to his hand. So let's just go ahead and give you a basic land.
Going to go ahead and path to exile her creature. Opted not to get an island off the path to exile. I mean, may just be dead here anyway. She's down to 8, has 1 draw.
Yeah, the Curse Catcher is not going to hold the fort super effectively here.
Her draw was Aether Vial. And it looks like Eldrazi are going to get their first win on the board for the day. And not how they drew it up, but eventually just raw power able to make its way through all these tempo creatures.
Yeah, it was unfortunate for Jennifer that she did draw those 2 Phantasmal images. They did give her a look at Robert's hand, let her take a bit of an attack against the hand that the Merfolk deck can't usually do. The problem was the Displacer just got to kill them for free.
Spreading Seas will be put onto Urborg. The pass back to Jennifer, tapped out with just a 1/1 in play. Robert will displace the 1/1 and swing for lethal. So that is the match for Robert Wright. 2-1. He moves to 3-0.
Yep. When I played last weekend, I was playing Blue-Red Eldrazi right out of the Pro Tour. It was the list that people were liking because it was the best list in the mirror. Still plays a reasonable game of Magic against other decks. I think that we're really seeing the power of Eldrazi Displacer and why a lot of people are going towards the blue-white Eldrazi deck.